This program has not been approved, licensed, or sponsored by any entity or person involved in creating or producing Iron Man, the comics, films, or TV series. Hi, my name is Trevor, and this is a pyramid. Whether you realize it or not, this pyramid has the power to transform you into a successful screenwriter. It's sort of like the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Once you come into contact with it, you can jump to another stage of evolution. And once you learn what's inside of it, you can write great, successful films. You can feel happy, fulfilled, and satisfied with your life's work. You can feel inspired and enlightened, like you've just cracked the code behind all successful films. You can finally get it. You can discover what makes films successful. And you can discover exactly what you need to do next to reach that same level of success. But if you don't learn what's inside of it, you could be stuck trying to balance screenwriting with your boring full-time job which you don't even like. You can continue to worry about whether or not you're ever going to make it as a screenwriter. You can keep on feeling like you're never going to make it as a screenwriter. You might feel lost, sad, and depressed because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing with your life. The good news is that you have access to the knowledge that's locked inside this pyramid. You can get inside and understand exactly what you need to do next to succeed as a screenwriter. Even better, you can discover how to write a screenplay as good as the critically acclaimed blockbuster hit Iron Man. And even more importantly, how to avoid the mistakes made by other, less successful films. If all of this sounds pretty far-fetched, don't worry. I'm about to explain everything to you. Stay tuned for the answers that can transform you into a successful screenwriter overnight. Starting right now. Just for a second, imagine not having to worry about failing to achieve your dream. No more confusion and frustration. No more feeling like you just don't get it. Are you ready to supercharge your writing method? Discover how you can do all of this right now. First, let me ask you a question. If there were a program that could transform your mind, reshape the way you look at films, and turn you into a successful screenwriter overnight, would you want it? If you're an aspiring screenwriter, you need to watch this video right now, because now you can learn in just over 2 hours how to write a screenplay as good as Iron Man. That's right, just over 2 hours. Watch this video all the way through and I'll explain exactly how you can do just that. But first you may be asking, why Iron Man? Well, for one thing, it made $582.5 million at the box office. It also has a tomato meter score of 94% and an audience score of 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. And on top of that, it launched the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a franchise that's grossed over $10 billion worldwide. So the real question is, why wouldn't you want to write a screenplay as good as Iron Man? I'll explain how in just a few minutes, but first let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been in love with movies since I was a kid. In high school, I produced, wrote, directed, starred in, and edited several short films. I wanted to be a filmmaker when I grew up. The only problem was that I lived in Minnesota, not exactly the movie-making capital of the world. And I wasn't willing to leave my friends and family behind to move to Hollywood. Giving up filmmaking was one of the hardest decisions I have ever had to make. Movies were my passion, my first love, my true calling. I didn't know how I could be happy without pursuing that career path. At the time, I had just graduated high school and was working in a factory as a janitor. All of my friends had already gone off to college, but I was stuck, trapped in what I like to call the Phantom Zone. Hey, what can I say? I'm a Superman fan. I was floating in a sort of limbo with no clue where my life was headed next. I finally did pick a school and began my college education. And my freshman year, I began writing my first big-budget feature-length science fiction screenplay. But after a few drafts, I stopped and asked myself, what's the point? If I'm not willing to commit to a career in filmmaking, then this script is a waste of time. No one will ever read it, and it will never be made into a film. Again, I started feeling depressed. It seemed like I would never get a chance to achieve my dream of becoming a Hollywood screenwriter. I would be stuck living an average, ordinary life working 40 hours a week at a boring job that I didn't even like, and the creative spark in my soul would eventually die. Then I remembered something that I had read back when I first got into filmmaking. It was a magazine article that said that there was a secret shortcut to getting your screenplay produced. Write a novel. If that novel becomes a bestseller, your odds of getting it adapted into a film goes through the roof. So I spent the next decade learning everything I could about novel writing. But secretly, what I was really writing was a beefed up screenplay. It was like a novelization of a film that hadn't been made yet. Because writing a novel was never my endgame. I was writing a movie. Yes, I was a novelist, but my primary source of inspiration was, and always will be, movies. Unfortunately, I was getting my inspiration from all of the wrong places, and I didn't even know it. I was inspired by movies like Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Terminator Salvation. I said to myself, these movies at least got produced. I should copy what they did. Wrong. Bad, bad, bad. After working on my novel on and off for 9 years, I finally worked up the courage to share it with one of my friends. I told her to be completely honest with me, to tell me what she liked about it and what she thought could be better. By the time she got halfway through it, she told me that it started out okay, but got worse and worse the more she read. She even said that she hated my hero and that he was her least favorite character in the book. I was devastated. At one point, I was even in tears. I had spent 9 years of my life working on this book. How could I have failed so completely? Again, I had the feeling that I was never going to make it, that I should just give up, that maybe I just wasn't cut out to be a screenwriter or a novelist. Then one day I asked myself a question that literally changed my life, a question that started me on the path that revealed to me the secrets of successful storytelling. After I hit that turning point, I spent one more year revising my entire novel from beginning to end, using my new method. And when I took a step back to read what I had written, the difference was astounding. But I had to make sure it wasn't just my imagination. So again, I gave it to a friend and asked for feedback. She said that she liked it, that it was cool, and that the more she read, the more intriguing it got. I couldn't believe it. My new method had worked. After 10 years, my novel was finally finished, and it'll be published in 2017 for all the world to see. But what was that magic question that I had asked myself? The question that had turned my writing career around. It was, if my book were adapted into a film, how successful would I want that film to be? Now, first I had to consider what that even meant. What is a successful film anyway? The first and most obvious answer is a film that makes money. Here's how you figure out whether or not a film made money. Go to Wikipedia and type the name of the film into the search bar. Bring up the article. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see a picture of the film's poster. Scroll down a little bit, and at the bottom of that little sidebar, you'll see budget and box office. Take the box office number and divide it by 2. Then subtract the budget number. That's how much profit the studio made from the film. Note that this is not an exact science. Real movie accounting is much more complicated than this. But it is a fairly reliable rule of thumb. Let's use Iron Man as an example. The box office for Iron Man was $585.2 million. Divide that by 2, and you get $292.6 million. Subtract the budget, which was $140 million, and you get $152.6 million. That's about how much money the studio made from Iron Man. And guess what? We got a sequel, and another sequel, and the Avengers. Now let's compare it to a similar film that came out the same year, The Incredible Hulk. That film made $263.4 million at the box office. Divide that by 2, and the studio gets to keep $131.7 million. Sounds pretty good, right? Except that they spent $150 million to make it. That was the budget. So if you subtract that from the money they got to keep, you end up with negative $18.3 million. The studio lost over $18 million on The Incredible Hulk. And guess what? No sequel. 9 times out of 10, if a movie doesn't make a profit for the studio, that's it. It's done. The studio cuts its losses, moves on, and tries not to make any more movies like that in the future. That's just good business. So, of all standards for successful filmmaking, making a profit is by far the most important. But that wasn't enough for me. There are films out there that have made truckloads of money, but according to Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of those films are rotten. The critics don't like them, and in some cases, the audiences don't like them either. This drove me crazy for a long time. If the audience doesn't even like some of these films, why on earth do they keep paying money to see them? Finally, it dawned on me. It was a pyramid. Let's go back to Iron Man for a second. Iron Man has 263 reviews from critics on Rotten Tomatoes. It has about 1 million reviews from users, audience members, and it sold about 82 million tickets worldwide. Now, there's no way of knowing how many of those ticket sales were from repeat viewers. Some people saw it once, some people saw it 10 times. But let's just say that everyone who saw Iron Man in the theater saw it twice, on average. That would mean that 41 million different people saw Iron Man in theaters. Of those people, only 1 million went online and wrote a review, and of those 1 million, only 263 were professional critics. Can you see the pyramid? At the very top of the pyramid are the critics. They make up about 0.000006% of the people who saw Iron Man. Next are the audience members who wrote reviews. They make up the next 2% of the pyramid. And the bottom 98%, the base of the pyramid, is everyone else who saw Iron Man. The people who saw it but didn't write a review. If you're not the kind of person who likes writing reviews, there are really only 2 ways you can let the world know if you really like a film. 1. See it again. Or 2. Tell other people to go see it. So in a way, box office numbers are the most accurate way to judge how most people feel about a film. And if you want to focus only on that number, that's fine. But I didn't want to stop there. I knew in my heart that I wouldn't want to write a film that makes lots of money but gets rotten reviews from critics and audiences. It just wouldn't make me feel good inside. I wouldn't feel proud of my work. So I set a higher standard for myself. Not only would I want to write a film that makes a profit, but I would also want it to get a fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes from both critics and audiences. I wouldn't be satisfied until I hit all 3 levels of the pyramid. Only then would I consider myself a truly successful writer. So that's where I drew the line. I put every film that met those 3 objective standards on my successful list, and I put every film that did not meet those standards on my unsuccessful list. Now I receive my inspiration only from films that make a profit and have a fresh rating from critics and audiences on Rotten Tomatoes. What I've learned since then has changed the way that I look at films. It was like I had retuned my brainwaves and could now see the patterns behind every successful film ever made. With my mind set to that frequency, I took a closer look at Iron Man and decoded it. I was able to see exactly what it was doing and how it was doing it. Most importantly, I saw how I could use the exact same techniques in my own writing to elevate it above and beyond what 99% of aspiring writers were achieving. But I'm not content to use this information just to make my own writing better. I want to make your writing better too. I want to share this knowledge with everyone else out there who is committed to writing successful films. Now I help aspiring screenwriters who don't get why certain films are successful and others are not, overcome confusion and achieve success without having to take professional writing classes. The first thing you need to know is that there is a serious misunderstanding in Hollywood about what makes a film successful. I remember hearing a story from Bob Gale, the co-writer of Back to the Future, about how some studio executive didn't want Doc Brown to have a chimp as his pet and test subject, because no movie with a chimp in it had ever made a profit. Bob said, "What about those 2 Clint Eastwood movies, Every Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can?" The studio exec said, "That was an orangutan." It's ridiculous. Whether or not a chimp is in the movie has nothing to do with how successful it is. It's superstitious nonsense. They're looking at the wrong things. They're looking only at the surface details. If you want to understand what makes Marvel Studios films so great, if you want to crack the code and make movies that are hits with audiences and critics, and make a killing at the box office, then you have to dig a little deeper. You have to understand that this is a business, yes, but it's a creative business. The commercial side and the artistic side have to work together. It's a right brain, left brain thing. It's yin and yang. You can't have one without the other. Not in this industry. I've done my homework. I've done all of the research so you don't have to. I've spent thousands of hours reading movie reviews, listening to filmmakers' commentaries, watching behind the scenes features, reading books on screenwriting, writing my own screenplays and novels, and trying these techniques out in the field. I know what's practical. I know what works because I've done it. Then, of course, there are some things that seem practical until you sit down to do them and then you realize that they're useless. I hate stuff like that. I want everything I learn to be practical. I want it to be something that I can use right now to make my writing better. That's what I'm offering you today. I've read dozens of books on the subject and continue to read more and more every day because I'm always looking for a new trick. I'm always looking for a new tool to make my job as a writer easier. I'm always looking for a new angle to approach things from. The tips, tricks, and tools that blow me away with how brilliant they are, the things that make me go, wow, I never thought of it that way before. That is amazing. Those are the things I'm looking for. That's what I'm offering you today. I'm giving you a new lens through which to view an amazing and successful film like Iron Man. It's a filter that you can apply so you can understand what I understand, so you can benefit from the thousands of hours of research that I've already done. But really, what makes me different from every other Joe Schmo who spends his time ranting about movies on the internet? Well, I'm willing to bet that most of those Joe Schmoes have never done any serious writing of their own. To the crazed fans who spend their time on message boards furiously typing, I could have written a better movie than this, the answers might seem obvious, but if any of those people were to ever try to write their own screenplay, they would find that it's not as easy as they think. You know that, you're a writer. You understand the pain of slaving away at something that should be amazing. In your head, it's fantastic. But for whatever reason, when you sit down to type it up on your computer, it just doesn't come out right. You take a step back, read what you've written, and say to yourself, that's it? That's what I was so excited about? It sounded so much better in my head. You know that you have an amazing story in you that needs to be told. You're passionate about it. You're excited about it. You're in love with it. But you just can't get it right. What are you missing? What mental block is stopping you from figuring this out? I'm here to help you remove it, which is why I am so excited to introduce to you Screenwriting: How to Write a Screenplay as Good as Iron Man. What makes this different from every other writing program out there? Look, I love books on screenwriting. I'm obsessed with them. I've read dozens of them. I can't get enough of them. However, very often I get the feeling that the lessons being taught sound great in theory, but fall apart if you try to apply the rules to a lot of films. Here's my biggest problem with that. In my experience, either the rules don't work for most films, or you have to bend the rules so far to make them fit a successful film that the very same rules could also apply to an unsuccessful film. So let me get this straight. You're saying that there's a universal formula that applies to every movie, whether that movie is good or bad. Right? Well, then why on earth would I want to follow that formula? If I do, I have no idea if I'm using it to write a good movie or a bad movie. If the formula truly is universal and is so flexible that it can apply to any story, how is that helpful if my goal is only to write a successful film? That's what makes How to Write a Screenplay as Good as Iron Man different. Because not only have I identified the patterns that separate successful films from unsuccessful films, but I have dived deep into one particular film that meets those objective standards of success. And I'm going to teach you exactly what you should be learning from it. The lessons I'll be teaching will be specific to Iron Man because every film is different. There is no one-size-fits-all formula. But I'll also teach you about something called synthesis, which means, in this context, taking elements from various sources of inspiration, like Iron Man, and combining them to create something brand new. That's where your story comes in, because I don't want you to copy Iron Man. That's not what this is about. Iron Man's been done. You have nothing to gain by copying it. The reason why Iron Man was so successful is because it didn't copy anything. It drew inspiration from multiple sources and synthesized it into something fresh, unique, original, and entertaining. That's what I'm going to teach you how to do. The wrong way to approach this is to say, Iron Man was a successful film. If I copy it, my film will be successful too. No, it won't. It'll be a ripoff. You can't write Iron Man because you're too late. It's been done. You need to tell your story. And your story is a combination of everything you're inspired by. So do I want you to copy Iron Man? No. But I do want you to understand the mechanics and techniques that it uses under the surface to make your story successful. So if you want to write snappy, witty, realistic dialogue, discover the one-word formula that can instantly improve everything you write, ensure that your story is airtight with zero plot holes, create realistic, dynamic character growth for your hero, create an instantly magnetic hero that your audience will love, learn the ultimate secret to writing amazing villains, discover the one simple thing that will make you look like a creative genius who had an entire series of films planned in advance, even if you were just making it up as you went along, thicken up your story without overcomplicating it or adding any fluff, write perfectly structured action sequences, and give your story an artistic message that critics will love, then this is the answer you've been looking for. And that's not even the cool part. The cool part is that you can listen to this program while you watch your copy of Iron Man at home and see exactly what I'm talking about as it happens on your screen. That's right. You get to watch one of your favorite movies while I teach you the screenwriting lessons you can learn from it. It doesn't get any easier than this. So how does this work exactly? It's simple. You watch your copy of Iron Man on your TV, computer, or mobile device with the sound off. While you watch the film, just listen to my program on your MP3 player, computer, or stereo. That's it. That's all there is to it. Now, I am not saying that your screenplay is guaranteed to make as much money as Iron Man. I can't make you that promise. You're the only one who can determine how successful you're going to be as a screenwriter. But I can promise you that I will give you tips, tricks, and tools that can help you reach your goals faster and easier. What you do with them will be up to you. Now let me ask you a question. If you were to write a screenplay right now, what are your odds of getting it sold? According to an article I just read today, the answer is about 1 in 5,000. According to another article, the answer is about 1 in 50,000. That may sound pretty bleak, and in a way it is. But there is good news. Most of the spec scripts that get submitted to be read by producers are complete and utter garbage. They're written by people who have done no research into the craft of screenwriting whatsoever. So if you've invested your time and money in books and programs like this one to really hone your skills and perfect your craft, then you're already way ahead of most of the other people competing in your industry. But you do still have to compete. You have to find the edge anywhere you can get it to stay ahead of your competition. And if you invest in how to write a screenplay as good as Iron Man, you'll know something that they don't. You'll have the advantage because knowledge is power. So if you're determined to make it, if you're determined to be the greatest, to rise above all of the wannabes out there and achieve success for yourself, you need this program. So tell me, what is it worth to you to stop worrying about whether or not you're ever going to make it as a screenwriter? What's it worth to you to feel fulfilled, happy, and satisfied with your life's work? What's it worth to you to learn what makes film successful and exactly what you need to do next to achieve that same level of success? There are screenwriting courses out there that cost over $2,000. That's insane. You're not going to pay $2,000 for my program, or even $1,000, or even $500. No. If you order my program right now, You're going to get all of this information for the low price you see right beneath this video. Now I have to warn you that this price could go up at any time. So if you want to lock it in, you're going to want to click the order button as soon as you can. And if you order right now, you'll also get my free bonus audio, 7 Things You Can Learn from Iron Man. In this audio, I'll take all of the information that you learned in how to write a screenplay as good as Iron Man and condense it into a concise step-by-step guide which will show you how to put your knowledge to practical use right away. You can literally start using this guide today to build a brand new screenplay from the ground up, using the techniques and mechanics that made Iron Man a critically acclaimed blockbuster. Now, if you're still skeptical, that's perfectly fine. I understand. There are lots of people out there who claim to know the secret to successful screenwriting. How do you know that my program will work for you? Luckily, you don't have to take my word for it, because my program comes with a full 60-day money-back guarantee. If this program doesn't help you come up with a great idea for a film, if it doesn't teach you how to create complex heroes and villains that your audience will love, how to fill in all of your plot holes, how to write clever, realistic dialogue, if you don't find it educational, if you don't find it entertaining, if you don't like the sound of my voice, I will give you a full refund, no questions asked. You literally have nothing to lose. So go ahead and click the order button below now. Still here? Alright. If you've made it this far into the video, I know you're committed to writing great, successful films. But you probably have a few questions, like, how is this program any different from a DVD or Blu-ray audio commentary from the filmmakers? Listen, I love audio commentaries. They're entertaining and educational, and they're often my favorite of all of the special features that come with a home video release. However, writers and directors often spend a lot of time making jokes, chit-chatting, and pointing out fun little pieces of trivia in those commentaries. I have purposely set out not to do that. I'm not going to describe to you what you can already see on the screen with your own eyes. I'm not going to give you useless bits of trivia. Every minute of my program is jam-packed with as much practical, useful information as I could fit into it. I do not want to waste your time. My program has zero fluff, zero chit-chat. Okay, it does have some jokes. But hey, who says learning can't be fun? How do I know that this program will actually work? I promise you that this program can absolutely make you a better screenwriter. But remember, you don't have to take my word for it. You can try this program out for yourself, risk-free for 60 days. If it works for you, great. You're one step closer to achieving your dream. And if it doesn't completely blow you away, if it doesn't transform the way you look at successful films, if it doesn't make you a better screenwriter, I'll give you a full refund, no questions asked. You literally have nothing to lose. Just give it a shot, and after you go through my program, then you can decide whether or not it works for you. Does this program also work for novelists? Absolutely. Whether you want to write a screenplay, a novel, a play, a short story, or a comic book, this program can make you a better writer, because good storytelling is good storytelling, period. Right now, you have 2 roads in front of you. If you choose to continue on the path that you've been on up to this point, and you just go on with your life and forget everything I've just told you, you could be stuck working at a boring job that you hate for the rest of your life. You can continue to worry about whether or not you're ever going to make it as a screenwriter. You can keep feeling like you're never going to make it as a screenwriter. And you can continue feeling sad, lost, and depressed deep down in your soul because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing with your life. But if you take the other road, if you follow me on this journey and let me be your guide, you can be a successful screenwriter. You can write great, successful films. You can feel happy, fulfilled, and satisfied. You can feel inspired and enlightened like you've just cracked the code behind all successful films. You can finally get it. You can discover what makes films successful. And you can know exactly what you need to do next to reach that same level of success. So please, click the order button below because I want to see you succeed as a screenwriter. I want the next generation of films to be better than the last. I want to raise the bar for screenwriters everywhere. And it all starts with you, right here, right now. so go ahead and click the order button below.